From the studios of the Department of Communication in Phillipsburg, welcome to Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Sylvia Jacobs.
Hi, welcome to Prime Minister Talks. I am Sylvia Jacobs, your Prime Minister of St. Martin, and today I come to you in this special edition in commemoration and celebration of Earth Day. Earth Day 2023, April 22nd, is a day that the whole world stops to ensure that we are paying close attention to the way that we are taking care of our Earth. And St. Martin is no exception. Though we may be small and we contribute minutely, so almost nothing, to the detriment of our Earth, we can still each do something to ensure that the Earth, the part we live on especially, is preserved, is protected, and can be sustainable for generations to come. So in this segment, we'll be talking about the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, which form part of our goals moving forward for 2030 and beyond under our National Development Vision. So when we talk about that, we're talking about clean water, we're talking about sanitation, we're talking about affordable and clean energy, as well as responsible consumption and production, climate action, and life below waters. These are some of the SDGs that directly relate to our Earth. And as people of St. Martin who love our beautiful island, we have a lot that we can do to ensure that St. Martin is clean, protected, and is here for generations to come. So there are 17 Sustainable Development Goals called SDGs. And it is my goal to ensure that everyone on St. Martin knows what these are. Last year, I traveled to EarthX for Earth Day and was able to speak at several engagements and learn about how much is being done to destroy our natural resources. When we destroy our natural resources, we in turn as a people cannot live. So we need to save the Earth so that we can live on this Earth. And so at this EarthX conference, which was held in Texas, I was able to highlight what St. Martin's plans are for the SDGs. And we've done a lot from 2019 since the UNDP funded a program to get towards plastic free for 2023. We engaged with our students in the schools, especially in the high schools, where each school did a project and there was a great presentation on the square. That was in 2019. However, we all know what happened after that. And with the COVID pandemic, our project got stagnated. So it's been transferred to plastic-free SXM. In doing that, there was a great video put out by our BAC department, which really highlighted the SDGs across the board. And the ones I want to highlight today are SDG 6, SDG 7, 12, 13, and 14. But what was commendable even up to last year, and this is, videos that were done since several years ago, was that our students knew a lot about the SDGs. The goal is now that the entire St. Martin gets on board, and there's a renewed awareness campaign that is on its way so that all of us can be there. SDG 6, clean water and sanitation. This is important because we all need access to clean water as a basic human right. Millions of people around the world have problems with this, and you will know, especially after hurricanes, what we do to ensure that everyone has not just clean water for showers and that kind of thing, but also for drinking. And then we establish all those different distribution points as well. So, especially in countries with limited economic development, there has to be extra effort to ensure there's clean water. So people will then ensure that there are wells, that there's places where you can pump water. So in this vein, we in St. Martin can go and look at our historical wells, restore them, and ensure the community has access to them. And, in the past, we also had cisterns. So even if you're not doing cisterns for drinking water, having a cistern is good to be able to water your plants, wash your car, even wash clothes. You can hook that up so that you're using less of the resources. SDG 7 is affordable and clean energy. It is important because of how much we now rely on fossil fuels. We are doing 100% on GEBE's production of electricity from oil. So we have a lot to do to transition to sustainable energy on St. Martin. We have to change the way we think. We have to change how we act on a day-to-day basis, even as we work towards sustainable energy production. We can do a lot to ensure that we're saving energy and in that way use less of the fossil fuels even now. So quite a few tips will be forthcoming on that as well. SDG 12 is responsible consumption and production. This is important because in our current patterns of consumption and production, this is not sustainable and we are leading to serious environmental degradation. That means we're breaking down our environment because of how much we're consuming. Everybody's about making money and it's about throwing away and dumping. So if we don't think about how we're purchasing, what we're purchasing, and what materials are in those packages, we are therefore contributing heavily to the destruction of our environment. And we know what happens at our landfill. That is us. That's on each and every one of us, consuming without a thought as to where it's going. So let's think about that to reduce harm to our environment. SDG 13 is climate action, and it's very, very important, one that is affecting us all. Hurricanes are a very key example. We've had that in 2017, and we will continue to be under the threats because of global warming. So climate action is essential for mitigating the effects of climate change and promoting sustainable development, something we all must pay attention to. Last but not least, for the focus for today is SDG 14, life below water. It's important because our oceans are our life. We are an island surrounded by water. We depend on fish, the coral reefs, all of these things are part of our ecosystem. They die, we die. So garbage in the water, garbage going towards the water, wastewater going into our oceans and ponds is a problem. So what can we do? We can do a lot. We can ensure to preserve life below water so that we can preserve our own lives. So hopefully this little snapshot of the SDGs that are very, very important to us is something you're now going to start looking into. And when I come back in the next segment, we'll go into a little more about what we need to do to control what we're doing along these SDGs. Come back.
Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Sylvia Jacobs.
Hello, St. Martin.
The Public Service Center is celebrating the Big 10. Happy birthday, PSC! To our valued customers and staff, we just want to say we appreciate you and thanking you for your continuous support.
And we are looking forward to serving you another 10 and more.
This message is brought to you by the Public Service Center, serving you in Simpson Bay and Phillipsburg, a department under the Ministry of General Affairs.
Carnival is to be enjoyed. Just be careful with drinking and driving. It is forbidden to drive while intoxicated. It is a crime, so be mindful. Think of yourself, your family, and loved ones of other families. No one wants to get hurt or die. For this carnival season, don't drive while intoxicated. This message has been brought to you by the Department of Communication.
Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Sylvia Jacobs.
Welcome back to Prime Minister Talks in this special segment in bringing awareness about Earth Day. Well, our national development vision is that framework that is built on the SDGs. So it is very, very imperative for us to focus on these projects. The Plastic Free Project, which I mentioned in the introduction, is one geared towards the reduction of the use of single-use plastics throughout St. Martin. I remember that we've started this project, as I mentioned, since 2019, so there is some awareness. Plastic straws, there's cups, there's bags, there's foam plates. It's not just plastic, but also styrofoam. These are all detrimental. And when they land on our landfill, it gets into the earth, it damages the earth, and when rainwater goes through that earth, it spreads those toxins. So that is something that then affects us all. We want to avoid that all these plastics get into our landfill. I know over the years there were organizations that collected and made art out of especially number 2 plastic. So if you looked at, for instance, the liquid you use for washing, the heavy number 2 you will see on the recycling part, those can be turned into something else. So those are perfect for recycling. And I know there was Test for Hay was doing that for quite a while, and I donated some of my products there. But after the hurricane, a lot of that stopped. Some of our waste haulers also collect recyclables. So there is a lot that we can do as a country, even as our laws go into effect, to reduce, use less of, refuse to use plastic that is single, as well as styrofoam. So that's one of the projects that is based on creating a more sustainable and healthy living for all of us. Corena is another project. This one is within the Ministry of VROMI. It's a coastal coral reef. Corena is Coral Reef National Assessment, which is being done under the Ministry of VROMI, also through funding from Rezembid through the EU. These projects are assessing the damage or the structure around the country, all of our waterways, looking at the coral reefs, and we need to know what is there to be able to preserve and protect it. So we have a very small team doing the work, but very dedicated civil servants that are doing that so that we can protect our environment. That will ensure our tourism product, that will ensure our livelihood, and therefore our lives. And lastly, the EDMP, the emergency, and lastly, the EDMP, the Emergency Debris Management Project. This one is done under the Trust Fund, which is then funded through the Netherlands and in collaboration with the World Bank. As such, we've done quite a lot, as you would have known from the beginning, in cleaning up the area. So that was cleaning all of the debris out of the lagoon, giving national coverage to the landfill. We know we used to have a lot of fires, etc. So reducing the smoke, the inhalation that comes from burning debris at the landfill, as well as putting plans in place for complete overhaul of waste management on St. Martin. We're seeing good progress there. We're seeing movement around the area of the landfill. We're going to have a way bridge coming in soon. Also part of the waste sector reforms are legislation that are needed. So of course, to ensure that we legislate how we collect waste, separating waste, recycling waste, etc. But not only that, ensuring we have a waste authority in place to regulate all of these things. So that is expected hopefully by the end of the year. And then we'll start to see some of the changes coming out that are effective of waste reform.
Every day, people face the unexpected. How do we react? We adapt, persevere, show strength. Imagine if the infrastructure that supports us was as resilient, if it was better prepared to deal with life's uncertainties. Infrastructure touches every aspect of our lives, so we must ensure it works for us, not against us, that it expands our possibilities and helps us to focus on the things that matter most.
In my recent visit to Denmark, we signed on with UNOPS to establish an office here. So United Nations project team would be here on St. Martin in its office. So not only are we starting that project to get our prison project moving, that program, we're now going to have the ability to also start other projects and programs, and especially focused on climate, on energy, on resilience. So we're looking forward to that. But there are many of our organizations like EPIC on St. Martin who are doing a whole lot. I've attended several of our science fairs where we see the students presenting many, many solutions to some of our climate challenges as well as our pollution challenges. So these are things that we should pay attention to, and government is allowing EPIC to present the waste collection that they've done around the island in an art installation here in the next few weeks. So if you come to the government building, you can have a visit with that demonstration of art that shows how much debris is out there, how much it is, how negative it is, how it impacts us, and also think about what you can do to minimize that impact. Also, in my visit abroad recently, I met with the Minister of Energy and Climate and learned of many, many opportunities for St. Martin to grow our resilience as well as transition to sustainable energy. These are exciting projects, and we are on a trajectory to be, of course, lessening our carbon footprint, and any assistance, any funding, any technical assistance we can get to do that is welcomed, because as we are sitting right now in the situation of using fossil fuels, it is detrimental to all our health. So any assistance in that regard, we're welcoming, and any technical assistance as well. So you'll be getting many more updates as it relates to that. What can you do? Stay tuned to more Prime Minister Talks as we learn about some tips in the next segment that will help all of us to reduce our carbon footprint and preserve our beautiful St. Martin.
Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Sylvaria Jacobs.
Carnival. It's that time again to enjoy the lime, the food, the people, and the music. However, enjoying the music is one thing, protecting our hearing is another. Listening to music too loud for a long time causes harm to your hearing. Protect your hearing and that of your family. This message has been brought to you by the Department of Communication.
Hello, St. Martin.
The Public Service Center is celebrating the Big 10. Happy birthday, PSC! To our valued customers and staff, we just want to say we appreciate you and thanking you for your continuous support.
And we are looking forward to serving you another 10 and more.
This message is brought to you by the Public Service Center, serving you in Simpson Bay and Phillipsburg, a department under the Ministry of General Affairs.
Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Sylvaria Jacobs.
Welcome back to Prime Minister Talks. This is our last segment for the special Earth Day awareness. I really want to encourage each and every person to understand that the Earth is the only home we have, and we all have a role to play in keeping it safe, in keeping it sustainable for generations to come, not just for us today. We can't be selfish. We have to think about our children and our children's children, having clean air, having fresh water, having sustainable energy. So, this next segment is focused on giving you some tips on how you can help us to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, how we can each do our part to create an Earth that is livable and healthy for us all. Let's look at SDG 6, clean water and sanitation. What can you do? One of the things that you can do around the house is to fix your leaks promptly. That's a waste of water if you allow water to consistently drip. And ensure that all of your appliances are efficient and your fixtures properly functioning. Another thing you can do is when you're cleaning your home, you choose products that are biologically biodegradable, so they're not harmful to the environment. We love to use the harsh chemicals, but it's not only bad for us, it's bad for the environment. So think about that when you're cleaning. And there are many organizations out there who organize cleanups. You can organize a cleanup in your neighborhood, but you can join a bigger group and do one at a beach that you like to frequent, or ensure that whenever you go to the beach, you walk with your own containers to remove your trash and have a separate one for the things that are recyclable. Avoid as much as possible going to the beach with plastic stuff, because something can blow away, end up in the water, and I have seen some horrific pictures of the plastic that holds cans together wrapped around the body of turtles. So turtles come up on the beach to nest, and they come out of their eggs, and they're in the sand and they grow into these plastic things that are then around their bodies, suffocating them. I've seen it with fish. I've seen it with even larger sea animals. So we have to do our part to keep debris and keep garbage out of our waters. The next one, SDG 7, affordable and clean energy. What can we do to save energy right now? How many times do you walk out of the bathroom and leave the light on? Simply turning your lights off. Turning your lights off when you're not in the room. And a good tip, unplugging appliances when they're not in use. Some people don't think about it, but once it's plugged in, it's pulling electricity. So unplug it, turn off the lights, and you'll be doing the earth a great big favor. And support policies and programs that are out there that are going to transition to more sustainable energy. There are many projects out there. Look at what is being done. I even saw something at our science fair where they were turning the sargassum sea moss that comes up on the sea into fuel as well as other energy products. So look at that. Something that's bad, that stinks, you burn it or you dry it and it becomes fuel. Ta-da! Saving the earth. The third one I'm going to look at is number 12. Responsible consumption and production. And this fits perfectly with our plastic free as well. What are we consuming? What are you buying? When you go to the store, are you taking the paper product or are you taking the plastic product? When you go in and shop, are you walking with your own bags? So that's another thing I'm promoting heavily. Reusable bags instead of bags that are just accumulating. You may need some for your garbage, but just take a few. Green bags also break down and don't damage the earth. So there are bags that are specifically made that break down. Choose wisely to have a more healthy earth. Food waste. Oh, wow. I must shout out Freegan Foods. They have been promoting not throwing food away and now have deals with various supermarkets on the island that stuff gets donated to them before they go bad. And then they in turn sell them cheaply or give them away to the most vulnerable. This way, less ends up in the landfill, more into the bellies of persons who need it. And we as consumers must also think about that when we buy food. Don't buy more than you can eat. Don't have it sitting in the fridge for 2-3 days and then it's just wasted. Someone could have eaten that. Someone could have benefited from that. So if we eat and plan properly, more people are able to then eat. It then also helps us with alleviating poverty. And I would love to help Freegan Foods in their quest to get legislation to avoid food wastage. So that's another tip. Let's see how many of our legislators in Parliament will pick that up. Then we're going to look at climate action, SDG number 13, reducing our carbon footprint. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Some people are opting, let's take a walk, let's bike instead of driving the car. Let's carpool, let's use public transportation. There are so many options, but I know of a friend who not only used walking as a way of using his car less and burning less fuel, he also lost weight. So look at that. You get healthier yourself, you breathe fresh air, and you're contributing less carbon into our air that we have to breathe. It's a win-win-win for all of us, and you get exercise as well. Planting trees is another way in which we can produce more than what we need to inhale and ensure that our earth remains a healthy place. During COVID, many of us turned to agriculture. Now think about it on a sustainable level. Let's continue to plant trees and ensure that we do not deforest here on St. Martin. Then we go to SDG 14, life below water, taking care of our ocean population. And again, reducing plastic helps with that. So that's already been mentioned. Supporting organizations that do the cleanups around the beaches, etc., and choosing sustainable seafood options. In big countries, overfishing can cause a depletion and then we won't have any more fish. Around here, we usually do it very, very reasonably. So let's keep that up. Make sure we fish reasonably, we use our water sustainably, and we do not pollute the beautiful oceans, lagoons, and ponds that make St. Martin beautiful. I've come to the end of my list of tips. So make sure that you pick up at least one each day as we commemorate Earth Day 2023. And by the next year, Earth Day, you would have done 365 things to make St. Martin healthier, greener, and ensure that we are doing our best to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and preserve our Earth. Remember, we only have one Earth, and it will take all of us to keep her healthy, to keep her strong, so that we can live long and strong quality lives. Have a wonderful Earth Day. I am Silveria Jacobs, your Prime Minister, always supporting a positive energy for future sustainable growth on St. Martin.